the world of Lan, a great war between the continents of Ebros and Elkesh is forcibly brought to an end by the Tempest, a cataclysmic storm that rages over the surrounding oceans. An uneasy peace has since been made, but over the last 2 centuries a cold war has frozen the hearts of many. The ice is brittle, and 4 adventurers must seek the hammer that can shatter that peace before someone else does. Welcome, dear viewer, to A Debt to a Friend, a homebrew campaign.
Not 2 hours after Session 3 has ended, and already I am recording the session recap, and I really think it's because I want to capture this while the excitement is still there. Session 3 of A Debt to a Friend ranks as one of, if not the best session of D&D I've ever had. Even more so than the Fungeon Dungeon one-shot, even more so than the Something Rotten in the city-state of Densmarsh, even more so than Session 13 of the Lost Man of Fendelver, Rocks Fall, Everybody Dies. Session 3 has quite a lot of what I like, the exploration and the combat side of things. And I would perhaps even say the social, in that I'm getting much more comfortable role-playing as Katusha Lost Cows, rather. Session 3 begins in the Heartseeker Inn that we managed to find out the name of, hence the heart with an arrow iconography outside of the inn. We've taken a long rest. We are now level 3, and we are ready to just about get out of bed and make a move. I've set up an alarm spell around the perimeter, and we all wake up from our slumber. Nothing has really happened. Having a long rest now, Takavrea, Tak, Nix, and Cornelius Bonaparte decide to investigate their bedrooms one more time, and unfortunately don't really find a whole lot, although Cornelius kicks something underneath his bed, a backpack, with a perception check of 15, Tak's investigation roll of 11, finds nothing, but Cornelius finds a backpack, and it has some stale rations that have since gone off, random bits of tooling, what may be a couple of copper coins or just scraps of metal, but he's not overly sure. He doesn't really take much time to find out what all this stuff is, except the tools are leatherworkers' tools, as he is asked by the DM to roll a d20, and he rolls a 10. And yeah, so he manages to salvage some equipment out of that. So the party, satisfied with their rest and exploration of their rooms. Also, as well, Cornelius had put the desk in his room in front of the door, and his strength of 16 allows him to do so. Thankfully, we can continue the adventure now that he's able to get out of his room. We don't have to kick it open or just like leave him to his fate if he can't get the window open. So we decide to prepare some food, and I go into the kitchen, having proficiency in cook's utensils, so that might even allow me to take the chef feat, or rather it's very likely that I'll take the chef feat at level 4 if I survive. Our DM has put quite a few challenges in this session, really all of them. I think he's done a very good job at balancing the encounters. So I roll a d20 plus my proficiency bonus, so that's plus 4, I think, and no, plus 22, and I didn't add my chef's utensils bonus because I rolled a natural 20 plus 3 anyway, just in case. And the food that I make, which was the same dishes as before, I really need to come up with some dishes, maybe something from the Black Country, although I don't think I can say the word that is like offal balls. I might just perhaps make Bovril one day. Yes. And so, I prepare food. Rackenart, unfortunately, is the only one who doesn't eat because He ate a bit too much from the previous night. He's still full, but not ill or anything like that. He suffers no ill effects, it's just that he can't really eat. And because of my roll, I managed to give everyone 5 additional temporary hit points, which come in quite useful later on, mercifully. So I think I will actually be taking that chef feat, because those temporary hit points will be very, very handy indeed. We have a talk about what Cornelius has found, and I note as well that I'm something of a crafter myself. And using some cutlery that I find in the kitchen, I make a lighter for Tak, who smokes a pipe. So I hand that to him, and that's one of my artificer infusions. So, having some banter and making our plans for our next move, we leave the inn shortly after, and we spend about an hour and 3/4 on the road, and we finally reach the Temple of Vulkor. The temple is a tribute to those who forge and the god of forgery, and well, not the god of forgery as such, but though forgery and forging are not the same thing. The god of forgers and who wrought metal with the elements. Vulkor is one of the elemental gods of creation, who was part of the War of the Elementals years ago and involved in the creation of the world of Alan. And we know that Vulkor is in his most primal, his most primal form of magic is the creation of volcanoes and causing them to erupt. But clerics of Vulkor can use their magic, use Vulkor's magic and divinity, and channel it into metallurgy, working with metal, smithing, tinkering, invention, all those kind of things. So he's one of the elemental gods of creation. I don't know how many gods of creation there are. I imagine there's about 4 or 5, but I don't yet know. I must ask the DM, and maybe our characters wouldn't know. So Ragnar at the temple arrives, noticing that, and we also notice that there are no footprints, no signs of life, no sound. So Ragnar uses his survival skill of 15+3 to find dust that may have been disturbed. And rather than notice that, he does notice that there is an absence of dust. A room or an area where there is a stairwell that leads down into darkness. Also as well, there is a smell of damp coming from it, and wetness. Now I do like, I want to quickly interject here and say that one of my favourite things in life, really. I was trying to think of a way to put it more in game terms, but I'm autistic, and I'm sensory seeking when it comes to smell. And I love the description of smell in things. I would make a point, if I were a DM writing adventures, of describing the smells of a place, not just the sights and the sounds. But yeah, smell would be a big one. So I like that our DM goes out of their way to describe a lot of these things. Later on, he describes a place smelling of decay, a place smelling of burning, damp in this instance. I do find that quite fascinating. So, anyway, the party decides that they're going to go down the stairs, and Cornelius observes that there should be some people here, but we can't seem to find anyone or any trace of people. The temple itself is not in disarray, or it's sort of in disrepair, in that it hasn't been used or maintained very well, especially for a god of the forge. You would think that it's well looked after. Another observation I make later on. So we go down the stairs anyway, and we find that the darkness is slowly being lit up by torch sconces that are very dimly lit. The ceiling is about 10 foot above us, and just about everywhere is made of stone. The walls and floors made of cobbled granite. Doors are solid with an oak metal design around them. And as we make our way to the bottom of the staircase, we realise that the chamber in front of us is flooded. Now, for Rakanar the Half-Orc, Cornelius Bonaparte, the human, and Takavray attack Nyx, the Dragonborn Paladin, they can find it easy to wade through. It's only knee-high up to them. But to me, it would be up to my neck. So I say to Rakanar, Rakanar, please may I have a lift? I don't want to get my uniform dirty. And of course he says, he says okay. So he puts me up on his shoulders, and I say, aha, drive me closer, Rakanar! And he just sort of like stays arms crossed and says, you're not the boss of me. And I go, oh, you're no fun. So I ruffle his hair, and we carry on. Unfortunately, we have to roll acrobatics to try and wade through this water, along with this rather uneven floor. Cornelius rolls a natural 1. He keeps himself high and dry, and without any problems at all. Attack rolls a 12, and unfortunately Rakanar rolls a 7, as he's struggling to hold me atop him and navigate his way through this room. And he doesn't take any damage himself, but he loses his grip on me, and I fall with an acrobatics check of 5, a check I could previously have avoided on Rakanar's shoulders, and I fall flat on my face in the water. I'm wet, but I'm able to get up, rinse the water off my cap, and carry on marching through. And then, just look like a very pissed off cat that's covered in water. So we decide that we're going to move to the south, and as I'm sort of wringing off my uniform, Rakanar takes a point, followed by Tak, and Cornelius and I behind. We come across a junction, one leading, and all basically like a cross formation. So going clockwise, we've got the east, wherein there is there's debris blocking the path. We simply can't go through that way. To the south, there is a door. Onto the east, west, there is a door. And so Rakanar says he's going to go straight ahead, and so the party follows suit. So we enter this chamber, and it is a 3x3 room, which has a statue in the dead centre, a table in front of it, and 2 armchairs. There's nothing on the desk. There's nothing in the chairs. No signs of life here whatsoever. I investigate the statue and find that it's a statue, and the party asks as well. I think it was Tak or Rakanar that asked, are temples normally like this? And Cornelius says no, but we should exercise caution and respect all the same. So I agree. I DM just asks the end of our marching order. Rakanar takes the lead, followed by myself, Tak behind me, and Cornelius Bonaparte behind Tak. And as we're moving through the door towards the east, leaving this room now, Cornelius hears a creaking and a grinding of stone. Cornelius turns around to the sound and finds the gargoyle, claws raised up, fangs bared, and because he is alert with the alert feat, which I was going to take so I could be in tune with Rigsby, who could not be surprised, looks like that's gone to cock now, hasn't it? He sees this and he ignores the effects of the surprise round, but unfortunately everyone else is surprised by this, and so we roll initiative. For initiative, Cornelius rolls a 20, Rakanar rolls a 19. The gargoyle, from what I understand, rolls around like an 18 or 17, but I think I got this wrong. and I roll a 16, and Tekavria rolls an 11. So Cornelius senses this and decides that he's going to move out of the way and use his dodge action. And so the gargoyle tries to grab at Cornelius with disadvantage, and he misses, but he's still able to try and bite one of Cornelius' leather braces, which Rakanar's player has kindly reminded Cornelius to put his leather armor on that he has. So that's the end of the surprise round. Cornelius uses a vicious mockery, and the gargoyle is seemingly unaffected as Cornelius' outburst of saying, "This ugly, horrible thing needs to die! Kill it!" doesn't seem to affect him, because it doesn't seem to understand common. So Rakanar enters a rage, and he's barreling forward and just strikes with his great axe, and unfortunately is unable to quite hit. His attack just seems to bounce off the pillar which this gargoyle seems to be pivoted upon. The gargoyle strikes, and he bites hard, but his claws mix, striking somewhat mechanically in the air. I think I said this in a Let's Play on my other channel, but I think unless it was in a previous, yeah, pretty sure it was another channel where I mentioned like this thing reminds me of like the Stone Guardians, I think they're called, of Elden Ring. Those sort of stone dogs that move very, very weirdly, quite creepy, uncanny valley sort of thing. They have like yeah, they're like medieval depictions of dogs. Anyway, moving on. So Tak uses his bonus action to Hunter's Mark the gargoyle, to do an extra d6 when he hits with a weapon attack. Unfortunately, he is a weapon attack only, so his Toll the Deads wouldn't work. And let me tell you, he has saved our skins a few times with those Toll the Deads. His Warhammer thunks off the gargoyle as he manages to hit. As he manages to miss, unfortunately, at melee range. So Cornelius disengages by crawling out of the room, his leg in a pretty bad state. But the gargoyle doesn't pursue him. It seems to be stuck in the spot. On the spot, rather. Rakanar, with his great axe, strikes with a 70 to hit, and then does 9 damage plus 2 from his rage, so 11 damage, and unfortunately it seems to be resistant from the attack. It's taken chunks out, but not as much damage as he would like to. I now enter the room and go towards the gargoyle's bottom left, and tell Rakanar that I need the alchemy jug because I have an idea. And so now it's the gargoyle's turn. So I take the alchemy jug, but I can't really do much with it. So I've got about 6 seconds to figure out how it works. So the gargoyle rolls a nat 20 for its claw attack, and Rakanar is struck with this by 5 points of slashing damage, and a 14 with the gargoyle's bite attack misses, and it swivels in place, I think, to face Tak. Tak disengages and runs into the other room towards the east, and sort of just like stands there, and notices as well that it can't go after Cornelius and it can't go after me, so it can't move. So, you know, if you want to make your retreat, you can do. Cornelius, I think, disengages and goes into the room where Tak is. Rakanar uses intimidation to distract the gargoyle and try and get me out, but unfortunately, with the 7, he doesn't seem to make any difference. Now I use the alchemy jug and say the command word acid, and that causes the alchemy jug to automatically turn whatever liquid is in it into acid. And I pour like a good 8 ounces of acid on this thing, and just dumping it all around the base of the statue, doing 2d6 damage, so 6 plus 4, not bad. And the acid is biting into the gargoyle, but it doesn't do as much as I would like it to. So I take my leave now. Also, I'm willing to take an attack by not disengaging. It tries to claw at me, but because I use my heightened reflexes, which is a reflavored shield spell, I am able to dodge out of the way. So then Rakanar is just about to make his exit when the gargoyle claws him for 5 damage and misses with his bite. So he's exiting, getting ready to leave the room when Takavria takes his Toll the Dead, Wisdom saving throw of 14, and the gargoyle takes 4 damage. The reverb of the bell causes bits of debris to break off with a satisfying crack. His Hunter's Mark doesn't do anything due to a weapon attack, unfortunately. Due to it not being a weapon attack. So you've got Rakanar just tearing chunks out of this thing, and Tak just breaking it open with the Toll of the Dead, having the Dolorous spell sounds, and the spectral arms trying to reach in and tear it away. On the 5th and final round, Cornelius aims his crossbow and looses a bolt, missing unfortunately by rolling a 6 on a d20, and it just plinks off the solid stone. Rakanar disengages and combat is ended. The gargoyle is still very much alive, and the Hunter's Mark is upon it. But for now, it just stands there harmlessly, staring at us balefully. Now, we do not find ourselves necessarily safe in this room because we hadn't really taken that much time to inspect it. But we are now in a room that has a broken table, bookshelves lining the walls, and Tak notices up on the floor there are strange symbols. Now, anyone who's watching this video who was at that session will know how funny this was. And I apologise that I'm not going to be able to relay that. But our party, let's put it this way, our party almost died to the floor.
But even with such potent magics at your disposal, the final sentry before you face Exodus himself is by far your deadliest and most nefarious foe yet. A lethal, unseen killer that all living mortals must one day face. The floor!
So there are these strange symbols on the floor, and Tak takes a closer look, and he rolls a wisdom saving throw of 12, 10 plus 2. As he looks at the runes, they glow, and he starts to feel a compulsion. He feels a rage overcoming him as he grips his warhammer, and he looks at me. The DM rolls something else, and nothing happens. He knows that the runes had caused him to do that. He felt this urge to grip his warhammer and strike me, but he fought the urge back. And he says, "Don't, whatever you do, look at the runes on the floor." So what do? I say, for just a laugh, "What runes? Oh, those runes!" And I look directly at them. I roll a wisdom saving throw of 10, and I sort of like black out for a second, and I wake up and see the truncheon in my hand, and I try to attack Rakanar, the half-orc barbarian, still raging, and I try to strike him. Thankfully, a 7 misses, and he's looking at me, wondering, "What the hell were you doing that for?" And I say, "I'm so sorry, big guy. I don't know what it is, but it's got to be those runes. Please forgive me, that wasn't intentional." So anyway, Rakanar looks at the runes, wisdom saving throw of 14, 13 plus 1, and is mercifully unaffected despite his rage, or maybe because of his rage. He growls at the runes and the magic goes away, seemingly scared by his demeanour. Cornelius rolls an 8, 7 plus 1, and seeing the runes glow brighter and brighter. He takes a swing at Tak with his fist, 14 to hit, and it just plinks off his armour, and Cornelius blinks the effect away. Now everyone who was affected must roll again. Tak rolls a wisdom saving throw of 18 plus 2, and has full control of his faculties. I roll a wisdom saving throw of 18, I think that's 16 plus 2. And have control of my senses. And Rakanar doesn't have to roll because he was unaffected. And Cornelius rolls a natural 20, another nat 20 plus 1 wisdom save. And so now we think, okay, what are we going to do? I look at the books on the bookshelves, trying not to look at the runes again. Look, that's all I have blinders on like that. Like, don't look at the runes, Katyusha, don't look at the runes. And roll a natural 1 to investigate the books, and yeet the books onto the floor to cover the runes. So I was saying, like, okay, so once I've read the books, the least useful ones I want to just throw behind me, hopefully covering up a rune. And I think I cover up just 1. So that's better than the thing, right? So Rakanar closes his eyes and decides that he's going to navigate his way to the southernmost room. And it takes some time, but he gets there in the end. So he opens this door in the southernmost room, which we decide on, and there's a corridor ahead, lit by dim sconces, and there are cat's eyes lights dancing in multiple orbs, and then there's a scuttling, and before we can really react, a giant shape is shown. A fire scorpion shows itself running towards us, trying to get down this very narrow corridor. So, we roll initiative. Cornelius rolls 22, Tak rolls 19, Rakanar rolls 15, and the giant fire scorpion rolls somewhere between 14 and 3. And I roll 2. Another nat 1, for fuck's sake. So, in the first round, Cornelius sees the scorpion and running directly shoots to in front of us, telling us to hug the walls. And as we're diving out of the way within our 5-foot square, he rolls a 20 to hit and does 7 damage. The bolt lodging itself into the eye of the scorpion, causing ember-like pus to seep out of the wound. He uses an unsettling word's bardic feature to reduce its next saving throw by a d6. Bloody, that's really good. That's like having like a bane, but I think you can apply bane to like 3 different creatures. But it's only a d4, and it doesn't get any better, I don't think. There may be a cleric subclass that makes it better. I don't know. That's really good. And d6 as well. So Tak then uses his Toll the Dead, a wisdom saving throw of 14, and succeeds, doing 11 damage as the spectral arms shoot out of the ground and grab the legs of the scorpion, twisting and pulling them off. And the scorpion is now reeling in agony at this. It's amazing how much damage this party's done already. It's now going to it will now have taken 27 points damage upon Rakanar, still raging, rolling a 22 to hit and just launching himself at it with his great axe and slamming into it for 9 points of damage. It's already taken 27 points of damage. We're level 3. I mean, my god. And to think we might have 2 more players joining us yet. Oh my word. So, God help us if any of them play a rogue. So, anyway, so the giant fire scorpion's turn now. It tries to swipe at Rakanar with its claws twice, an 8, and his other claw rolls an 11, missing. And it tries to hit him with his stinger, a natural 1 it rolls, unfortunately, very fortunately for us, as it slams its stinger against the wall, bruising it, taking itself 4 points of piercing damage. I dash. I decide to take the dash action, yelling, and I go into a corner. And that's it. Now, because I dashed, I didn't disengage. As I try to dash to a corner, the scorpion grabs me with one of its claws and 5 damage, and it grapples me. And I think my temporary hit points came in handy there, unless it was the gargle encounter. Can't remember. Point is, they were useful at some stage. Anyway, and so I just run in going, ah! And that's a sort of battle cry, and get caught. And it tries to sting me as well, but it misses, going for where I was before, and I feel the searing hot glow as the stone is deformed by its molten stinger, and feel the heat radiate from its stinger. On the second round of combat, Cornelius tells Rakanar to move as he shoots his crossbow. He rolls a dirty 20, doing 4 piercing damage, and the bolt hits one of the leg joints, burying deep into the scorpion's flesh. Attack tolls the dead once again, and the scorpion rolling a wisdom save of 12, failing, and the spectral hands manage to tear off another one of the legs with 10 damage. Rakanar rolls an 8 to hit and misses as the scorpion rears up in agony. Unfortunately, almost hitting the abdomen, but not quite. So now the fire scorpion swings at Rakanar, rolling 16 to hit and doing 5 damage, grappling him, reducing movement speed to 0. A 12 with its stinger unfortunately misses, the searing heat of the stinger burying itself into the wall and melting some of the masonry. I try to hit the creature with my crossbow, forgetting of course that it's in melee range, so I get disadvantage, and I roll a 9. I might have been able to hit with a 16, but even then, no, I had to be further away. I should have broke out the grapple instead. So yes, I miss flailing around. I just shoot a bolt into the masonry. It just destroys itself. In the third and final round of combat, Cornelius says, "Melee, guide my bolt," and shoots at the scorpion, rolling a natural 1 plus 2, but still a nat 1. And does 4 damage to Rakanar. He takes 2 points of piercing damage. It would have been 4 had he not been raging. And he then decides to use a healing word as a bonus action to heal Rakanar for, I think, 5 hit points. So, yeah, you know, swings and roundabouts, you win some, you lose some. Tak performs the final Toll of the Dead of the combat, and the creature fails its saving throw, dealing 10 damage, and he explains how it kills it. The bell rings out menacingly, and necrotic hands ethereally appear, grabbing the head of the scorpion and just crushing it into a pile of red, hot, chitinous goop. Combat ends. The room that the scorpion lays dead in, probably melting in its own lava, is covered in bookshelves, but I see a shape towards the bottom of my vision just as Rakanar's leaving, exhausted. I want him to step back just in case there's any more tricks with the chest, and I look at the shape, and I decide that I'm going to have a look at it. So I open up the chest, and a beautiful light explodes in front of me instead of my face melting. I see the glimmer of 800 silver pieces, and I tell the party to help me with the haul. As I'm brushing through the coins, I notice that there's also gold in there. The amount being 100 gold pieces and 800 silver pieces. I think that's about... oh, hang on a second, I just need to actually update something. Yep, 100 gold pieces is alright, yeah. I thought I put 200 gold pieces in the party loot channel. So we've got about like 180 gold pieces in total there. So we consider if we're going to take the loot. Cornelius says that because this is the temple, we are taking God's tribute, we shouldn't touch it. And Tak as well sort of feels a sense of duty and honour to the Raven Queen, his own god. Meanwhile, Rakanar just says, "Nope, sod that," and he just pockets the stuff. He's just shoving it into every orifice that he's got, every pocket, every pouch, every pack he's got it. He's probably just swallowing some as well, just to keep it there. I saw a really good video of someone like actually doing a trick where they swallowed a coin and made it clink in their stomach, and also as well, so like dispensing it. Quite fascinating, really. Anyway. That's where the idea of stuffing it into every orifice came from. I do apologise, Rakanar. That came out of nowhere. So he's gonna carry on wandering off like John Wayne, and I make the point of like, look, if this really is the Temple of the Gods, like if this really is the house of God, then it surely needs a housekeeper, or he needs to come back and sort his house out. So, as this is going on, as Rakanar just filling his pockets with stuff, I sure hope our DM isn't using coin weight, by the way. Also jingling very slightly as well. I look at the bookshelves and let's have a look. What roll did I get? Yeah, with an investigation check of 24, which is like the best roll I, besides the natural 20. I haven't done too bad for rolls. With an investigation check of 24, 19 plus 5, I find out about Vulkor, the elemental war and the forces of nature joining to create the world we live in now. Vulkor being a god of fire and forging, which seems to have given its power to volcanoes, but has also been distilled in smithing. I put most of the useful books aside for later, and I really hope I picked them up before we left this place. I don't want to have to go up against the gargoyle again, but we shall see. Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, yeah. So Rakanar's taking the loot, and we decide to go back into this central room. Tak tries to speak to the gargoyle in Celestial and Draconic, but fails to get any sort of response. And so we now go into the eastern room. Rakanar jingles, and so Rakanar opens the door, finding books, desks, and scrolls, and humanoid figures turning to him. Once more, we roll initiative. Culty Boy number 1, in black robes, rolls the highest initiative, followed by the red-robed cultist, assuming they're cultists. Cornelius rolls a 12, Rakanar rolls a 9, Tak rolls 5, 6, and I roll 5. So the first round of combat, the black robe cultist stares down Rakanar and rolls 16 to hit with his scimitar, wasting absolutely no time. And I fail to hear what damage he did, and he yells, "Get the others!" The red-robed cultist steps out and stands behind the black-robed cultist. The familiar form of a spectral flail appears next to Rakanar and takes a swing at him, missing. And he reaches out, launching a dagger from behind the black-robed cultist, and rolls an 18 to hit and does 7 points of damage into Rakanar's shoulder where Cornelius' bolt had hit him earlier. But now from the front. Finally, he makes his retreat north into a room above. So Cornelius then uses a Cure Wounds on Rakanar, healing him for 5 hit points. Rakanar rolls a 12 to hit the cultist with his Great Axe and deals 13 damage. He slumps down, dead, making quick work of him. Tak just charges past Rakanar over the body of this cultist, just cleaved in twain, slumping to the ground in the doorway, and looks up and sees the red-robed figure standing in front of him, and he shouts in common, "Lay down your arms, or what happened at the inn will happen to you." And he rolls an intimidation of 11 versus the cultist score, but unfortunately it doesn't affect him. I run behind Tak and say, "Diplomacy, eh?" And loose a bolt for 18 to hit, and I roll 11 damage. I think that's the most damage I'd say ever done, to be honest. I think that might be right, to be honest, a single hit. It does heinous damage. I don't think that's the word I'm looking for. It does heinous damage to him, so much that the bolt is irretrievable. It goes clean through him, but the tip is stuck in him, like just around his kidney. That's the second kidney shot I've gone for today. I might just keep doing that, to be honest. I think that used to be a thing in like 3.5 edition or 3rd edition, like cold shots, where you can go for specific parts of the body, but if you can do it to enemies, enemies can do it to you. In the second round of combat, the spiritual flail hits Tak for 19 flashbacks, taking 11 points of damage, and it just slams into him successfully. The red robe figure points at Tak and casts Hold Person, but with a wisdom saving throw of 13, 11 plus 2, Tak feels his joints tense up, and as he loses feeling in his fingers, he uses his sheer force of will to snarl and free himself of the spell, exploding the effects off him. The cultist slams through the next door towards the west, and with the last of his remaining movement. Cornelius rushes ahead and uses a healing word on Tak, being told by Tak to just go after him. Go, don't let him get away. Rakanar dashes, doing the same, and finds himself at the door, opening it and finding what appears to be an empty room. And as this happens, the spiritual flail disappears. Combat has essentially ended at this point. I go back into the previous room to inspect the body of the slain. Just bear with me. Forgive me, I haven't actually taken enough screenshots. Unless I've saved them somewhere else. I do apologise, I haven't got all my screenshots. Anyway, the cultist is slain. And so the red robed cultist seem to get away. The black cloaked, black robed cultist I inspect, and I find with an investigation check of 18, the robes are dark, but there's no identifying information. There's no money, and there's only really the weapons he had his person. He does have some scribing equipment, however, so quills, extra ink pots, some parchment, which I pocket, and I'll have to ask the DM specifically for those notes. But there's no identification. I also look in the desk in the centre as well that the cultists were around. I see various scrolls that detail the history of the temple, major acts of Vulkor, and a ledger of tributes left to the temple, and a blueprint of the temple. So we sort of know about these locations. Also as well, a note. The summoning looks more promising. It should not go as badly as the previous one in the tribute room. No one can stop us. So it appears as though these guys were responsible for summoning the giant fire scorpion. But that makes me wonder, what was the other one? This has got me thinking. Is this the fire golem in the Fungeon dungeon? Or is this just something that maybe it was the Otyugh in the inn? Maybe the previous summoning has gone awry, and we'll find out in the next session what that was, because we've still got a few more rooms to explore. Or maybe the previous one just failed, and this one, you know, like we've got the giant scorpion. Whatever the case may be, it's got me thinking about something. Either way, we've cleared that room out. So Rakanar checks the room in front of him where the red-robed cultists escape, along with Cornelius Bonaparte, and it may have once been a sleeping quarters, but it's very hard to tell now with what little remains there. Cornelius rolls with investigation with advantage with the Rakanar's help, and he rolls 19 and 22. Rakanar leaves the room and leans back, just trying to catch his breath and try to fight off exhaustion from his rage. And Cornelius notices a rune hastily scrawled on the debris, where the path was blocked. The eastern path was blocked as we entered the junction, the Under Temple. And he sees this rune hastily scrawled upon the debris. He rolls an Arcana check, 6 and 7 with advantage, and finds only that it's been drawn hastily. I wanted to use my Artificer Lore to try and figure it out, but that was only for history rolls, and even then it wasn't really a mechanical sort of thing used with magic, so couldn't really do it. I roll an Arcana check with advantage, 8 plus a natural 1 plus 3, and I find absolutely nothing. I don't know anything more about this rune than these guys do. So we go back into the centre and go into the northernmost room this time, and Tack takes point, kicking the door in. And this would normally be a good idea, except the floor immediately falls before him, and with a dexterity saving throw of 15, the momentum carries him. He finds himself spinning around, grabbing onto the side of the door and pulling himself back, seeing below him a 10-foot pit. There doesn't appear to be anything harmful in there, but it has a smell of rot and decay. And that's about it. Besides that, the room is empty. It appears to be a trap at the very least. So we now decide that we've got nowhere else to go. I really hoped at this point I picked up the books. and from the tribute room, and we decide now we've got to go up against the gargoyle. So I have an idea. Using my magical tinkering ability, I pick up a pebble, I say a prayer to Gerardal Ironhand, the god of invention, or whatever, and I create a chirping sound with it. And I toss it to the bottom left corner of the gargoyle room. And with an Arcana check of 12, so 9 plus 3, I throw it, and the gargoyle swipes at it hungrily and tries biting. And I just shout to the party, "Go, go, go!" And we run through successfully. And as Tak is the last one to make it through the corridor, he notices that the gargoyle has reset its position, no longer fooled or interested in, at the very least, the stone that is chirping. So now we decide to go through the westernmost door, and Tak hears voices. At least he hears a single voice, and he hears two figures observing a shrine, and they don't seem to notice us. We all roll stealth. Cornelius rolls 20, Rakanar rolls 15, Takavir rolls 13 and 19. He has to take the 13 because of disadvantage with his armour, and I roll a 12. The cultist's passive perception does not allow them to detect us. And so just as Rakanar and Tak are creeping in behind them, getting ready to club them from behind or whatever, the session ends, and we have a surprise round in the next combat. So that is it for session 3 of A Debt to a Friend. In the next session, we hope to clear out the temple and possibly even retrieve the Hammer of Vulkor. Thank you all so much for watching. I did not expect to wrap this session up as quickly as I did. I know this one's gone on for quite a while, but that was still better than I was expecting. Yeah, and so neatly as well. This session recap went a lot better than I did. I hope I give it the editing it deserves. So yeah. But yeah, really, this session was fantastic. I felt so much had been accomplished. And it's sessions like these that reignite that joy of doing session recap videos and wanting to play again. You know. Now the session had to end on time, and it did. I have to say, this group is really good for getting there on time and starting immediately. We don't wait. We don't have like a pre-game chat all that much. We get straight into the game. That's quite good. Not that I don't want, and I say a lot of things like this, but I don't want this to seem like my Lost Mine of Phandelver group is awful or anything like that. I have a lot of criticisms about Lost Mine of Phandelver every now and then. That's mostly due to our sake. But yeah, it's like, and I'm sure I'll have complaints with this campaign. I hope not. But yeah, that's me being incompatible. But yeah, hopefully not. But yeah, it's like I'm absolutely loving this group, loving the campaign. It is phenomenal, and it's sessions like these that really make it all the more worthwhile. Now, this, as I was saying before, this session had to end on time because in about an hour's time from the session's end, the DM will be doing a session 0 with their in-person group, and they look to be having about 3 or 4 people, from what I understand, actually turning up to that. So it'll be really interesting. With any luck, that game will go ahead. People will be dedicated to it, and hopefully they'll have enough time to get the backstory together and whatnot. I would very much like to play next Sunday, but if it means that the DM's in-person group gets to play their first session in a week's time, I'm all for skipping that next week. So yeah, and I had suggested as well, as a bit of an Easter egg, could our characters' bones be found in the room with the runes? But then again, that might give away the danger of the runes. But yeah, our DM honestly thought that like that could have gone more dangerously because he wanted some magical landmines, and yeah, that would have been pretty bad. Yeah, I had a terrific time. I can't stop going on about this one. This was a fantastic session. So thank you ever so much for watching. It has been an absolute pleasure to play A Debt to a Friend Session 3. And yeah, I shall speak again very soon, I hope. At the very least, in a week's time. At most, I would think 2 weeks' time. So thanks very much. Take care. It's for now.